Well, greetings to all you folks. Welcome here to this channel. There's an old saying that goes something like this: says you can't really see the forest for all the trees. Well, that's easy to understand. You're in the forest, all the trees around, you can't really see it. But if you were to be taken up and out of it, you could look down and you could see the whole forest. Well, that's what I want to do today, with us understanding what's really taking place with God, the Jews, Islam, and us Christians. I say us Christians, I'm a Gentile. All right. The idea of Daniel in Daniel 2, where he actually deciphers a dream for Nebuchadnezzar. Now, he was the king of the Gentile world. This is where we start first getting introduced to the Gentiles. And this king had a dream, and Daniel interpreted the dream. And so we have the different kingdoms built, and then we get all the way down to the feet of this image, and it was made of iron and clay. The two don't mix, obviously. And then Daniel 2:34, right in there, you're going to see where something of a stone, not made by hands, will smote the feet then of the iron and clay. And by the way, I want to stop right here and just give a little thanks to a gentleman by the name of Robert. He was one that brought this up this morning. I'd been thinking about it several weeks ago. And then he brought it up today, and actually in one of the replies. And I said, now would be a good time to use that as an example. So Robert, thank you. All right, so let's move on. So when this stone smites the feet, the one not built with hands, so this is actually the sudden destruction. This is where that kingdom all comes to an end. It's a building of the church age. Again, not of the Gentiles or the church after the rapture. So now we have a big picture. We're looking down. Okay, God is going to step in. We see that asked by Asaph the prophet in Psalms 83. God responds. Obviously, he's going to do something. Zechariah 12 gives us that day that something will happen. Now let's remember, I'm going to throw this out there because this gets confusing by some people. I'm not stating I know a day or an hour, but I am led to believe that there could be something else that leads us to understand that we're getting closer, and that's what I'm trying to do. So you understand God's plan is in action as we speak, as it was foretold. Now, the iron and clay, I think, has all become obvious, and we're talking about the Arab world and the religion of Islam. And that's mostly the Sunni Arabs. And those are the ones that are warring factions against Israel, saying they want Israel gone. Completely wiped off the face of the earth, no longer want them to exist. So, now let's move on. Let's see, one other thing. I wanted to bring this up and kind of give you another picture of what's going on. Help define what's happening right now. And that is when wars happen, there's usually a winner and a loser. So let's take the Ukraine-Russia war. What's being debated right now is how much land will be won. So it's a takeover of land. When one or the other surrenders, gives in, that land that was conquered then now becomes to the conqueror. That's wars, from my understanding, goes way, way back. Now notice the difference of the wars that are happening with Israel. You see, Israel said in 1967, we're going to keep the land that we won. That war in 67, Israel won a lot of land. And we're going to keep that. That's a war like I know them. But this war that's happening right now today is a different kind of war. Because you have a great number of other nations saying that Israel, even if you win this war, you can't have that land. That's not yours. And that's the curious part, because it was Hamas warred against Israel, but Hamas wants to remain in power even though they have lost the war. And here's the complicated part. Many other nations are for that land being left to the Palestinians, run by the Palestinian Authority, which is nothing more than, or Hamas is, an offshoot of Fatah. Okay, the Palestinian Authority from the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization, to the PA, Palestinian Authority, those are all linked together, part of an Islam movement, the religion, Islam. We're beginning to see the divide here now between the two. Okay, wars, okay, we win, the land's ours. No, not in Israel's case. Now, what really is actually keeping this war going with Israel and Hamas is the hostages. This is very highly contended and high-pressured stuff that the Knesset and Netanyahu personally is taking upon him himself. Because his decision, and now we'll get into the wars. No, we won't. We're going to keep on going here. So it's been Netanyahu's contention, and he has said with about 98% accuracy, no more hostage swapping, like a 60-day truce. None of that. That's all gone. He's saying that we are going to go in and conquer. We're going to eliminate Hamas, completely free all the hostages, and then Israel's going to take control over Gaza until an arrangement can be made with other nations to come in and help rebuild it. We know that's not really important because we know the end of this war. All right, let's get on to one other thing that happens here quite often, and let me confront that, and that is, Ross, do you think that on the Jewish holiday that's up and coming that the rapture could happen? Absolutely yes. I want to answer that clearly. But my added response is it could happen at any time. The removal of the Christian church is directly linked to that sudden destruction, which again, Daniel 2:34. So they're all linked together to as it appears to be happening at the same time. Now I say as it appears. Let's go back again to Psalm 83, Asaph the prophet speaking. And he was concerned about the hidden ones at a time when there was great tumults. Tumults can be transferred and understood to English as being what we're seeing with all the riots. And I call them riots because they're not peaceful. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to maintain the Palestinians within the Gaza Strip, calling it genocide. The window's open and here comes a train. A lot of you that may not have known this happens quite often here. Israel then is to give that land, it says, over to other people to control. But it still doesn't eliminate the desire of Islam Arabs, which include the surrounding enemies of Israel, from hating Israel and wanting to keep the war going. So you see, it's almost not really a way out for Israel at this particular time. It's kind of confusing, but yet if we stand back and we look at it, we see God's plan in action here, then we understand what's going on. Oh, back to the holidays. I'm sorry. Yes, it's just if I didn't finish that, I think the train interrupted me there. Can the rapture happen on a Jewish festival, feast day, or holiday? Yes, by all means. It really could. But it can also happen on other days. That was it. Because the Christian world, that's the rapture. Okay, so the true believers of the Jews' God and Jesus' Son and his works, and they're taken up off the earth, called harpazo. And it just so happens that word harpazo, translated into English, is to be taken out of the way of danger quickly. So that's how we tie it together to that sudden destruction. Okay, then we can go ahead and tie together now in that day Zechariah 12, when God says he's Micah 1, I think it's 3, where God comes out of his place and does something. There's that stone. There's that smiting again. All right, let's see if we can kind of wrap this up here a little bit. We talked about the wars and the war that's going on. Let's finish by explaining what we might see as what we would consider the end of the Hamas Gaza Strip war with Israel. Right. So what is being required here is that Hamas surrender, basically give up all its weapons. It'll be demilitarized, and all hostages will be released. Now, then they would be saying, in my understanding, peace and safety shall be had now. And if we go back now to Paul, 1 Thessalonians 5:3, what does he say? He says, for I need not have to write on to you, for you're going to know the season. Well, we're in that season, I believe. And then, of course, he speaks about those that are saved, those that are in light, and those that are in darkness. In light are those that believe Jesus as their Savior. Jewish people believe him as his Messiah. Okay, so then we go on down to the point now to where something is going to happen when Paul says, when they say peace and safety, then the sudden destruction. All right. We can get so involved in other meaningful ideas of what could happen. But what I did was here is I bunched it all together to let you know that you have a grasp now, that God is in control, and this was foretold. And it is now happening. And when that war, however it should end, it could be another way even that it could end, and we're just not seeing it. But if it, and again, Netanyahu, I'm telling you with 98% accuracy here because of all the things I have read, that you can tell that Netanyahu is standing firm even though the resistance of all the nations are against him. But he's standing firm. And another point, I forgot about this until just now. At the beginning, Netanyahu said it would be October 7th when this all-out war starts against Gaza, Hamas, and against their warring faction. So it was going to be October 7th. That's when they were going to start the war. Well, this changed. They're actually in the process now of starting it. They're basically getting everything set up, and they're trying to evacuate Gaza from all the Palestinians. Of course, Hamas is trying to keep as many of the civilians around them, using them as human shields. That's expected. And so it's going to take some time now. All right, I kind of feel like I'm talking in circles here a little bit, and I don't mean to come on that way. I want you to understand that we're looking at this from a distance with God in mind and his plan. And then we're looking at what's actually happening on the ground. And this type of war is different. It has to do with the hostages, and it has to do with the Arab world of the Sunnis and the religion Islam. And that's what's basically being fought. We're told and we understand that God will eliminate all those surrounding enemies in that one day. Zechariah 12, Psalm 83, it actually lists those areas around Israel. We have the picture now in our mind that all this is being set up to happen. No, we don't know the day, we don't know the hour. But we do know what Paul said. And what Paul said makes it very simple now for us to be able to understand. Because when this hostage release thing is looking like it's coming to an end, Israel can finally say, I believe we're going to be living now peacefully and safe. And then the sudden destruction. Folks, I hope this video was helpful. I didn't really have a lot other. I'm just going over, over what I've gone over before. But I just want you to take a different look at it now. Again, can we see the forest for all the trees? Not if we get up out of the forest. So let's take a look at what it is that God's doing with his Jewish people in the end of the church age and the start of when God works with his Jewish people. And that's that last 7 years as we talked about in Daniel 9, the last video. Good for now, folks, until next Sunday, unless something else pops up. All right, let's leave it at that. Until next Sunday.